Insane card at the White House UFC. Topuria versus Gaethje for the belt. POATAN debuting at heavyweight against Ciryl Gane. Chandler, Ruff, Sean O'Malley on the card. Man, these are fights that have everything to go down in mixed martial arts history. Like I always say, here is one thing, but in the cage it's another. Now let's break down the main fights because this event promises a lot of action, guys. Lopes versus Steve Garcia, guys. When they told me about Garcia, I immediately thought of Stanio Garcia, but let's go, guys. I see Diego Lopes with knockout power, a really strong chin, a guy with a lot of explosiveness. He really likes to bring contact into his fights, and at an incredible level. He has a very offensive jiu-jitsu, so I really like Diego Lopes' fighting style, and it's a fight that suits him well, guys, and for UFC Casablanca, for him to come in with confidence. And remember, Diego Lopes is still a young guy. He's not someone who's already reached the peak of his career. There are still good things ahead for this kid. Wow, that triangle was insane. A work of art, right, man? Look at the grip. Look there, just look. Interesting detail on the setup. Now, and he's very aggressive. He has really good wrestling, man, and he's always bringing aggression to the game, right? He's not a staller, he's offensive. If you're going for jiu-jitsu, if you're going for grappling, it's to finish, my brother, and if it's not to finish, it's to adjust the position to land some strikes on you. So I like Diego Lopes, man. He's a guy who sells. He really sells, His fights are do or die, man. He doesn't waste time. He overwhelms his opponent in every area, right, man? He really goes after aggression all the time. You can see that even in the Wizard, he always shakes his opponents in that position. He never lets the guy get a base. He's always throwing the guy off balance, man. You can see he even does an aerial attack there, right? He does. He attacks the triangle at the rim, man. No, the kid is the kid. It's insane, man. I'm a fan of this guy. A lot of people would say, oh, he accepted the takedown, but no, he didn't accept it. He actually adjusted in the air, falling underneath, thinking, oh, there's a risk. But no, he was already down. He got caught. Look. Wow, Steve Garcia shows that he has a good chin, but he's very hittable. And when you face a guy like Diego who moves through all three areas with a lot of efficiency, with a lot of skill, you can see he's a guy who takes and gives back. And for Diego, man, this give and take, Diego is going to choose where the fight happens, He's a guy that Diego is going to map out perfectly. He's a lefty. It's always tough to go up against a lefty. But, man, I don't see him doing well against Diego, no.
What do you think is the game plan for Diego here?
Diego, as we know, he's not a guy who tries to take it to the ground just to avoid striking. He's a guy who controls distance very well in stand-up fighting. He has a very good level of boxing, so Diego should definitely impose his stand-up game. But man, it's always good for a black belt to use what he does best, bro, which is to keep the guy uneasy on the feet. If Diego lets a striker get comfortable, and we saw that where Steve Garcia has less knowledge is in grappling, so that's exactly where he should operate. Bring the fight. Take him down like we used to say back in the day. Once you take him down, Paulon, bro, that's where you have to act. My pick is Diego Lopes.
Personally, there are two Brazilians besides POATAN.
Which one?
That I'm a bit more of a fan of. One of them is Diego Lopes and Carlos Prates, top 3 in Brazil.
Ah, man, and where's Charlinho?
No, I like him, but man, I think I prefer the other 3.
Hey, that's a black belt talking.
Brown belt.
Brown talking, man. No. Did you see Charlie's fight on Saturday?
I watched the fight, and Charlie did everything we discussed about jiu-jitsu.
He gave a lesson on how to use jiu-jitsu in mixed martial arts, and guys, soon we're going to do his analysis, right?
We're not going to.
We're not?
No.
So, guys, Charles gave a lesson on how to use jiu-jitsu in mixed martial arts. He gave a lesson on how to work from the back. Holloway, with very good defense, managed to escape and defend against Charles's offense in every round. But, man, Charles gave a lesson on how to use it, when to lock it in, when to let go, Man, he really gave a masterclass, dude. In the last 10 seconds, I almost tore my fingernails off my fingers.
You heard Holloway got his black belt right after, right?
Oh, really? Look at that. But also, because jiu-jitsu isn't just about attacking, guys. Jiu-jitsu saved Holloway, man. If he wasn't a black belt, he wouldn't have been able to defend himself the way he did against Charlinho, man.
I would have preferred a more special moment for this belt.
If I were about to be promoted to black belt in kickboxing and I fought 5 rounds with POATAN and managed to complete all 5 rounds, I would deserve my black belt.
For sure.
Getting your black belt is just the beginning of your journey. So, Holloway earned his black belt by managing to defend himself against Charles the way he was attacked, man. Now I'm here defending professional fighters. There's no greater ritual for a promotion than a professional fight. And especially a guy who's recognized as one of the best boxers in the UFC. He faced the best finisher. Charles showed that he has a very good stand-up game to neutralize Holloway's striking. And man, he took him down, took his back, mounted, but he didn't finish.
He did what was necessary, but not what needed to be done.
I'm not saying Charles didn't do what needed to be done. He did everything that needed to be done. Now, Holloway showed that he knows how to defend himself and he knows a lot of jiu-jitsu. For me, he graduated in the best way possible. There's nothing better than getting your black belt, facing a top black belt in the world, and not getting submitted by him during 25 minutes of fighting.
That's true.
See, I changed your mind.
You did.
Obviously, we know that a degree doesn't mean anything. A degree is just a right of your evolution within your art. You shouldn't take into account who's better or who's worse. A degree is individual, guys, no ego. But let's go. Bonical versus Daukaus. Let's go, guys. Bonical versus Daukaus. Bonical is one of the greatest grapplers in the division. He totally goes for grappling. He's a guy who relies a lot on grappling, controls distance very well, is very fast on his feet, but he always goes for the grappling. That's his foundation, a guy who doesn't stray from his roots and is very good at what he does. Now, Kyle Daukaus is an athlete, and I'll admit to you that I don't know him that well, but analyzing his fights, he's a guy who gets hit a lot when standing. And that could give Bonical a certain advantage. But remember, Bonical is not a specialist in stand-up fighting. He's a specialist in grappling. Daukaus has a good level both standing and on the ground. But I still see an advantage for Bonical, who is a guy that manages to be very efficient in grappling. He's not a guy who just controls. He's someone with very aggressive grappling. So my guess is that Bonical will come out with the win. And guys, let's go. Let's get to the fight one of the fights I'm most looking forward to, Ruffy versus Chandler. Guys, Ruffy is a kid who controls distance really well. He's very smart, that karate style, a guy who controls a lot. He has a more upright stance, has a precise lunge, doesn't waste strikes, right? He showed that a lot in his last fight against Rafael Fiziev. Like I tell you guys, he's really good at what he does. But now he's going to face a really good wrestler whose background is truly in wrestling. So he brings that strength of the American wrestler, but he's been really tested. A guy, an athlete who has been in the sport for many years and was a Bellator champion. This is another step for Ruffy, right? He's a guy, another one to test. And I see Rafael Fiziev. And the next on the list is Chandler. They really want to put Ruffy to the test, where more complete and more experienced athletes are, putting him to the test to see if he'll pass. My guess is he'll pass. Ruffy is a very smart kid, a guy who knows very well how to move between attack and counterattack. He knows very well how to open up the way and get his opponents really into the fight. Right? We talk about this a lot when the guy controls the contact, his opponent who really looks for the fight, and that's where they meet. Right? Ruff showed that very well against Fiziev. He landed the jab, and waited until he found the timing, even though Rafael kept pushing, so now you want it. Then take it, brother. And I see Chandler the same way. Chandler is the kind of athlete, suddenly he has a few more weapons when it comes to moving with speed, a little more than Rafael Fiziev. But he has the same game, looking for a little more grappling. But Ruff has the weapons to defend himself and manage to play the same game against Chandler. That's my guess. And guys, let's go. Let's move on to the third to last fight on the White House card. Sean O'Malley versus Zahab. Sean O'Malley is a very complete striker, a guy who controls distance very well, very rangy. He has very good reach, strikes well while moving backward, and has a good level of grappling, guys. Okay? So he's a guy who's already been well tested in the division. Guys, he's going up against Zahab. Look, Zahab has already faced Jose Aldo, one of the greatest in the division. But I don't see Sean O'Malley having trouble with Zahab. Zahab has a strong chin. He's a guy who likes to bring chaos to the fight. But Sean O'Malley controls distance very well. He moves well in both stances, and he won't let himself get cornered by Zahab. That's the only way. He's shorter and needs chaos to become dangerous in the fight. In my opinion, Sean O'Malley is the clear favorite here, guys. And now, right, we've gone through the whole card. There were 4 fights, and now we're going to the co-main event, the main event of UFC Casablanca. In my opinion, it deserved to be the main event. The man of the moment is Alex Pereira, and he's moving up a weight class to go for the belt in a 3rd division. He was the middleweight champion, then moved up to light heavyweight, became champion, and now he's moving up to heavyweight. In the last 3 years, he has already fought for the belt 7 times. Guys, I don't see it as that important to put Topuria versus Gaethje in the main event. All right, UFC White House needs an American to, be there at their place. But even so, guys, for me, the main event of this event is Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane. But come on, are they going to put a Brazilian and a Frenchman? They're not going to do that, guys. What do I think about this fight? Ciryl Gane is a guy who really controls distance, who knows very well how to limit contact in the fight, but now he's going to face the guy who knows the right moment to work. Does Ciryl Gane have a chance? Yes, because he's really a guy who can hardly be beaten 9-3. He's a really big guy for the 9-3 division. Alex has already shown that he can even drop down to middleweight. He was champion there, then he moved up to 9-3. A lot of people even thought that but here he's going to have more difficulty. My brother, he went through everyone, and there are a lot of people thinking he's going to have trouble facing the heavyweights there, top 5. And he's already going to come in kicking the door down facing Ciryl Gane. In my view, he's a guy who will be able to avoid contact in the first rounds, but I don't see him doing well against Alex, guys. He's a guy who doesn't have a grappling game to keep Alex from getting loose in the stand-up fight. And speaking of stand-up fighting, my brother, we're talking about a guy who was a champion in everything he did, the guy who teaches kickboxing to all of us. I'm going to talk about a moment I had with him. We traveled to Dubai. We weren't expecting so many people, but there were people from Nick Hammer, from Hammerden, the Dutch with their whole team there, the Galactics from Glory there together with us. They were sparring lights and all. Nobody was there in fight camp, so it was very respectful. But even so, in the game, everyone is forced to move backward with Alex. And Alex is a guy who controls distance very well. He knows exactly when to accept contact, guys. He has a very large reach. He may not have the same physical build as a Ciryl Gane, who is really a heavyweight. Now, Ciryl Gane is going to face a guy who isn't as physically imposing. But, my brother, I don't know any athlete who hits as hard as Alex, so when it comes to punching power, you can be sure that Alex is on par with any heavyweight. That must be the excuse they're using to make the co-main event, Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane, which is for the UFC Interim Heavyweight title. The belt holder is Aspinall. In his last fight, he had a serious injury to his right eye. So he needs some time off and to do new tests to see if he'll still be at high risk of losing his vision if he fights. So they will fight for the interim belt, but soon, God willing, Aspinall will be back, guys. And reminding you, everyone who wants to understand more and more about Alex's game. There are plenty of videos with Alex, both training and him technically explaining some moves he likes to use and the proper reads. Check out the previous videos on the channel. There's a lot of knowledge there. And guys, let's go to the main event of UFC Casablanca, a fight that has some issues. Soon I want to see Charles fighting for this belt, and he's showing that he's evolving a lot, that he really deserves to be fighting for this belt soon. Topuria versus Gaethje. Guys, Topuria is a guy who really likes to fight standing up. He has very refined boxing, but he's also high level in grappling. Bro, he transitions really well, but his boxing has shown a lot that he has that power in his hands, so he doesn't need many strikes to achieve success. But he's going to face Gaethje, a guy who loves chaos, a guy who comes to fight and really has a chin of steel, guys. In his last fight, in the final seconds of the 5th round, where the He's the best motherfucker. And in the last 10 seconds, they went at it.
Just a note, Master, the former best motherfucker.
Yeah, the former best motherfucker. Who now is Charlinho. But in those last 10 seconds, man, I lost my fingernails, man. Damn, dude.
Remember how Gaethje drops to the ground like a sack of potatoes?
Yeah, go back and check the analysis where I said if Charles accepted that exchange, he would go down, man. Good thing there wasn't enough time. You know that Charles needed a strong move and to go for the grappling, and he did that very efficiently. When he stops at a distance with Holloway, he showed that there he isn't efficient. He has to come in striking and taking action, because if he stops in that back and forth, in that clinch zone, and tries to trade with Holloway, there wouldn't be a fight. Holloway would take him down, but he did it efficiently. Now let's go. And what about Topuria? Will he fall like Gate did? No, he's a guy who has a lot of power in single strikes, but like I told you guys, he's someone who knows when to strike. He has really sharp grappling too. He knows how to defend himself very well. He showed that against Charles. What's my prediction for this fight? I see a knockout by Topuria in the second round, but he's going to struggle a bit in the first round. Finding his range, he'll face many counter strikes from Gaethje. So, if he can't catch Gaethje to tie him up, wear out his arms, and mix up his mixed martial arts game, he could have a problem. Because Gaethje knows how to fight at close range. He has a very strong, dirty boxing game. He's a guy who knows his way around there. It's a tough fight, but Topuria does have the advantage. He brings a very strong boxing game and with movements. He's hard to hit, but he's going to face a guy who, even when hit, hits back. It will come down to who has more, and I think he does, since he'll take it to the ground and put him against the cage. That's how he'll neutralize Gaethje's strength. I see it as 60-40. Topuria 60. Gaethje 40. But Gaethje still has fire to burn. He's aiming for UFC White House. Every fight is a big fight, guys. It's an event that's really set. Is there still a lot that can happen with this card? Yes, there is. Are there some spots that could change? Yes, they can. But Mano, it's going to be really electrifying to see POATAN, to see Topuria, Ruffy. Look at the level this kid is already at, guys. He's fighting on the most anticipated card of the year, or if not, the most anticipated card of the millennium, man. All the athletes always wanted to fight at UFC 100. It was Brock Lesnar in the main event. Those of you who've been around for a while will remember UFC 200 was POATAN, the main event. UFC 300 was too, right? I see that 100, 200, and 300 were the most anticipated in history. Now, UFC Casablanca has arrived, which surpassed those three and is the event of the millennium, guys. So, UFC Casablanca, UFC 200, and UFC Freedom 200 and a half. Heavy card, big fights, and a historic stage, guys. Now I want to hear from you. Who wins, Topuria or Gaethje? POATAN or Ciryl Gane? Leave your guess in the comments.
Freedom 200.
But why 250?
Because it's a different edition, right? The Freedom has a name with it.
Why 250 if we're already at over 300? Freedom is fine. This is the moment we're living in.
It's the 250th anniversary of United States independence.
Good one.